and we've had a huge kind of storm of interest from designers from all over the country wanting to be part of the event. So we are currently going to live stream the first 25 minutes of this conversation, which will be us talking. You won't be filmed. That will go out as a kind of low quality version at the moment on FaceTime for anybody that is watching in from elsewhere, so hello. And we will produce that as a higher resolution piece of footage as a record of the event. Equally, I would ask all of you that for this bit of the evening, by all means record, photograph, whatever you want to do. Once we go into breakout groups, it's really important that we treat that confidentially with what everybody is going to say in the room. So that's all the sort of technical business of things, really. We have come to this point in this conversation because we have been, Ian and myself as leaders of Society of Theatre Designers and ALD, have been in conversation for possibly 2 years now, I would say, with SDUK and Association of Sound Designers. And we've met probably 2 or 3 times a year to just understand what our common ground is, what our shared resources might be, etc. And most of you will know that Stage Directors UK were able to create quite a level of noise around what they wanted to achieve and did a brilliant job of that. And as a consequence, they were invited to come and meet with BECTU and start a working party to have conversations around directors' fees and terms and conditions. So as a consequence of that, we've since been invited into a conversation. We started that conversation with Jamie and have been subsequently joined by Helen, who represents BECTU. So what we're here to talk about is primarily this one, orange one, this lovely thing. And I just wanted to get a sense from all of you who has ever seen this before. You don't count, you've been in meetings.
When I first started designing, I emailed BECTU and asked for a copy, actually, and that's...
I think that's probably the last time I've seen it before now. So, these 2 documents, this one is the UK Theatre Collective Agreement, and this one is the SALT Collective Agreement. And those are the 2 agreements that are up for negotiation. We will put in a claim in October, and that claim will be settled in April next year, about.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So when you came in tonight and we asked you to sign that you were here, we also asked you to tick against the list of UK Theatres members and against the MRSL. Still get that the wrong way round. Yes, first time that's been correct in a very long while. List, so that we could get a sense of how people are working with those organisations, because those organisations are signed up to this. And I think the interesting thing is that there is actually quite a lot of good stuff in here. We're clearly unaware of it, me included, until this point in time. And there are other things in here that we want to really work on and shift and move along. Number 1, not many people know it exists. Number 2, when we find it, I think impenetrable would be quite a useful word to use for some of the language that is used within it. So we're really keen that it becomes a working, usable document that everybody is aware of, because all of our contracts come off primarily of this and the SALT agreement. ITC is one that is the other agreement in the portfolio, if you like. And what's striking about ITC is just how clear their matrix is, and that rolls on a slightly different turnaround to these, which are renewed once every 4 years. Is that fairly sum up where that is? Good. So you can see around here kind of what we're talking about. Nice and little, just bite-sized, tiny portions of things to talk about. Not. This is kind of where we've got to in condensing this into 5 broad categories, but obviously there's lots of stuff to discuss within those markets. So I'm just going to introduce who's here with me on the floor, and then I'll talk a little bit about what we think the structure of the evening is, and then we'll ask you to become much more involved than just sitting and listening to me very attentively and politely, which is very grateful. So, I'll introduce first of all Ian Saunders, who is Executive Director of the Association of Lighting Designers.
Thank you, Fiona. I can't talk off the cuff, so I've actually written something to just read straight away. As an association, for those working with light in live performance areas, we are often asked about what we are doing to help to improve the fees that LDs receive, with the union minimums often cited as being inadequate in a world where the vast majority of lighting designers are engaged as freelancers. We therefore welcome the opportunity to present the case to modernise agreements that in the main were created to recognise and recompense the work of in-house staff who lit shows in the repertory theatres as an extra to their normal duties. The development of lighting technology that has increased the ability to create much more complicated shows raised expectations of other members of the creative team, producers and audiences alike, and contributed considerably to the iconic visuals of many well-known long-running productions, means that, for want of a better phrase, the jobbing lighting designer is likely to end up putting in a considerable amount of more work than the fee justifies, and that is before taking into account the suite of CAD programs, keeping on top of current trends and equipment developments, running small business and absorbing other costs. The suppression of fees also blocked the route into the industry for those from wider socio-economic backgrounds, and also to allow mid-career practitioners the opportunity to continue when family or caring responsibilities fall upon them. The time is right to fundamentally assess how theatre, which contributes millions of pounds to the wider UK economy, can support those who often find it hard to establish and then develop a sustainable career in their chosen area of practice.
Right, thank you very much. Helen Ryan, who is Assistant National Secretary for BECTU.
Right, good evening everybody. I am doing it off the cuff because I've actually got a boring job of trying to explain why the unions are now involved and why we have to be involved. So these agreements that have been waved around, these are collective agreements. These are agreements between the Employers Association and the trade unions, and the trade unions are Equity and BECTU. The only way that these agreements can be amended is by using the unions to amend them through the negotiation. So I appreciate that there's been a lot of history. I've only been in the Arts and Entertainment division within BECTU for the last 15 months, but I understand there is a lot of history. The unions have not necessarily represented the members adequately. We've had failings. I think the unions will throw their hands up to that. But I think we need to put that aside. We need to work together and let's amend these agreements so that they're modernised and they're fit for purpose. I'm short and to the point, and that's what I've got to say.
Thank you, Helen. And lastly, Jamie, who is Secretary of the Equity Directors and Designers Committee, amongst many other hats within Equity.
So Equity is delighted to be a key partner at this evening's event, bringing together professional associations and our sister union, BECTU. Without doubt, this has been noted as a significant step by all in seeking to address the issue of low fees, exploitation, opportunities and equality for designers in the UK. And tonight, for Equity, is an opportunity for us to learn from each other, to use the knowledge, skills, experience and the values of all our constituent parts to examine what the real issues are for designers, with the aim of embarking upon a programme that we hope will make a positive difference. You will know that Equity currently represents nearly 44,000 workers across the creative industries, and whilst each and every member of the union benefits from a range of individual benefits, from public liability to legal protection, public liability insurance to legal protection, to advice and guidance on things like tax and copyright, our core function, or if I was a marketing officer, our unique selling point, is our capacity to collectively bargain and to negotiate common terms and conditions on behalf of union members, including theatre designers. I expect most of you in this room hold a view on the current agreements and the rates of pay we have in place for theatre designers with both the Society of London Theatres and UK Theatre, and I'd be surprised if any of you were here to say that the current minimum rates are too high. But before we start to look at how together we can make those agreements more relevant, better and stronger, it's worth acknowledging that there is no automatic right to recognition. There is no automatic right to collectively bargain, and there is no automatic right to negotiate minimum rates of pay. And the fact that those agreements remain in place is not a testament to the talents of union officials like me, or like Helen, or my predecessors who have worked most closely with designers over the years. To those designers out there who have played their part by joining the union, voting in elections, serving on committees and equity council. And I know that some of you are in here tonight, and I don't think you should underestimate the role you have played in giving us this chance. So as imperfect as they are, we currently have those agreements, and we have the capacity to seek to improve them. Equity minimum fees are not rates equity sets. We don't decide or impose them on you or employers. They are the rates we are able to achieve through a process of negotiation with employers' bodies. And whilst reasoned argument might play a part in negotiating those rates, the limits of reasoned arguments extend only so far as to our ability to make life difficult for the employers or the engagers. Too often, the employers recognise the problem of things like low fees, but they don't always like the solution. So until such time there is a consequence to them offering low fees, or at least a fear of a consequence, they will continue to do so. Equity sees this event, the value of design, as an opportunity to draw on your lived experience, to identify what your priorities are, and to create a picture of what it is to work in theatre design in 2018, and to start to try and build the industrial capacity to negotiate rates which more accurately reflect the value of your labour. And that can be achieved by working together. It's worth noting that in 2008, the minimum rate for performers working in the West End was £381 per week. Today, 10 years later, the minimum weekly fees range from £568 per week to just under £700 per week. That's an increase of between 49 and 83% in a decade characterised by austerity and an employment market where levels of pay in the wider economy have flatlined at best. And that's not happened because the moral or the economic arguments have become stronger in that 10-year period. It's happened largely because our membership amongst performers in the West End has grown, and that membership has become more active within the union. And despite those increases, our members still don't think they're high enough, and they're probably right. But they recognise the opportunity to continue to make improvements is linked directly to their equity membership and their involvement within equity. So as we talk about what our priorities should be this evening, and about the improvements we would like to make to our agreements, think also about what your role is in helping us deliver those improvements. I hope you enjoy this evening, and it proves to be the public start of a campaign for union rates and other conditions of engagement which better reflect the true value of design for theatre designers based in the UK. Thank you.
I just assumed you knew me, but of course you don't all know me. So, I'm Fiona Watt. I'm Honorary Secretary for the Society of British Theatre Designers. I've been in that role for approximately 4 years now. We're run entirely voluntarily by bar 1 day of administrative support a week, but that doesn't mean that we have a fantastic design community of knowledge and expertise, and there are many people in this room who, right from the start of me taking on this role, have supported me in various ways. And without the fantastic team, before I forget to thank them, of Liz, both Maxes, Francesca, and various other people in the room, we wouldn't have got to this point of coordinating the event tonight. Society of British Theatre Designers, for those of you who are not part of it or have kind of looked on doubtfully, we are really going through a process of transformation, and that for me has been about balancing up our activity. This title has also been something that we've used in relation to some work talks and gatherings that we've done with Footprint Exchange. Danny and Kat are sitting at the back there, and what's been so exciting about doing those events is that we have really looked at how our disciplines sits and is situated within other design disciplines. And so the conversation has been with architects, with retail designers, with experienced designers, with this whole spectrum of other people who are using theatrical skills, narrative skills, skills in making immersive environments, all of the things that we know how to do and that they really value,
as something that is vital to how they go forward. So in terms of situating our discipline, not just within theatre, but within the wider field of design, we feel that's a very, very important thing to do. We're going to stop talking next, but before we hand over to you, you will see these posters that we've put up here, which broadly summarise the 5 categories that we're looking at things under. Some of these things, when you look at them, you go, well, why is that there and not there, and why are those things not in the same section? Because my designer logic would say that those are not kind of placed in the right place together. We've collected these together under sections of that collective agreement, so this is where they kind of broadly appear. And the way that this is divided up, because we're not going to talk about fees first, and I'm going to explain why we're not going to do that in a moment. These two areas over here are really about the bigger concepts and the bigger constructs that we need to consider. A diverse range of backgrounds to be joining our profession. If the system of earning a living and moving through your career is entirely untransparent, it could be argued that you hopefully meet somebody from Oxbridge in a pub, and that might be the way that you kind of progress your career, because there's a great deal of mystery around things. Access to building-based opportunities for emerging designers. We're aware of a strata of activity whereby you can be really, really successful on the small and middle scale, but getting that next step up, even if you are an assistant to an established designer, getting that next step up in your own right into buildings and seeing how buildings work is not there. And again, from the point of view of access, equality and diversity, if those opportunities aren't there, then people can't progress through their careers. Equally, codes of conduct towards freelancers, and we have that whole issue around fear of, if you talk about something to do with your terms and conditions, then you just won't be employed again. And we obviously need to address that fear, because if we stay within that, we're not going to actually manage to change anything. What's interesting about what's happening on this side is that UK Theatre and SALT commissioned the Theatre Workforce Report, and that was published last year, so they've written about all of this already. So this is an open invitation, a no-brainer kind of conversation really, in that all of these things have already been raised by the people who've drawn up the collective agreement, so surely we can work together to make that work from all sides. So on the front row and some of other places, could breakout group facilitators please stand up and face your public for me for a moment. So these lovely people are going to be facilitating discussions around these 5 issues. We know that it's massive, we know that it's absolutely huge, but we're here tonight to get your contributions to this conversation. So there will be 3 breakout groups for these 3 issues in the foyer where you registered, and these 2 breakout groups are going to be in the Duffield foyer just upstairs. The idea is that if you wish, you can rotate through all of them, spending approximately 10 minutes on each one. If there is one that you're going, this is my opportunity to absolutely get out everything that I have to say about this as best I can, and I might have to say it really quickly, but I might just manage it in an hour, then you are very welcome to stay on one table and exploring these 5 areas, and it will be part of our ongoing conversations together, and what we take to the table is just what is being absorbed within the fee, as well as what should exist outside of the fee. And some of these things are to do with people and opportunity, but a lot of them are to do with the mechanics and the lack of transparency about various different aspects of things. When we come back together, we'll talk about fee. And we're aware that there will be a kind of wash coming this way, but we have thoughts on the way in which we want to think about that, which is in this way: design creation being about the design process in your studios, etc., outside of a building; design realisation being about attendance within a production period; First design usage being exactly what it says, what you're licensing the organisation to use under that first contract, and eliminating the "could you just" clause, which none of us can see when we first read that contract.